Is this the moment altcoins finally break out? Because right now, Ethereum is flashing a signal we haven't seen since the last bull run, and big investors are moving in fast. But while most traders and new investors are glued to the Bitcoin chart trying to decipher what's going on and where we are in the market, the real opportunity might be unfolding in the altcoin market in real time. Behind the scenes, the world's biggest investors are making moves that could rewrite the future of crypto, Bitcoin, and even the US dollar. And the signals, well, they're flashing red hot all at once. But almost nobody sees the real story, what's really going on and unfolding behind the headlines. That's why in the next 15 minutes, I'm here to break down the week's most important moves in the macro condition and situation in the market, Bitcoin, and the crypto market, all in light of geopolitics, so you can start the week ahead of the market and not behind it. So if you're ready to see what most investors cannot simply see, well, let's jump into it. So let's talk about interest rates, money flows, and big politics. So to start, we have to pull the curtain back on what's driving big money. The latest Kobesi letter dropped some jaw-dropping data. So far this year, 64 central banks around the world have already cut interest rates. That's the fastest pace we've seen in decades. Every time a central bank drops its rates, it becomes cheaper to borrow money. Think of it as putting a turbocharger on the global economy. Businesses end up taking out more loans, investors get bold, and suddenly riskier assets like crypto have a tailwind behind them. Meanwhile, the S&P 500, the main scoreboard for American stocks, just set another all-time high. And when that happens, it's a strong signal that investors are feeling confident, pouring more money into markets and reaching for returns. So it's no surprise then that big names are weighing in. Just this week, President Trump called for the Federal Reserve to slash interest rates all the way down 1 or 2%. We'll have to see what he does. We'll have to see what happens. But to put it into perspective, we haven't seen rates that low in modern US history. Lower rates means cheaper dollars that usually drives more people into assets that can outpace inflation, like stocks, real estate, and yes, of course, Bitcoin. But Trump wasn't done there with his recommendations. He also said that the current pause on tariffs will probably expire soon, and that could make imported goods more expensive, adding another layer of pressure to the global economy. And there's a movement on the geopolitical front as well. Trump suggested that a Gaza ceasefire could be possible within a week, though the details are still vague and under wraps. So we'll have to see how that fleshes out, and hopefully it does equal, a ceasefire between Gaza. That is so sad what's going on over there. And any progress towards peace in the Middle East and on the Gaza Strip could ease some of the energy price volatility that we've seen recently as well. And north of the border in the US, Canada just dropped its digital service tax to restart trade talks with the US. While over in Europe, leaders say they're ready for a fresh US trade deal as well. So it seems everyone wants to make a deal right now. And all of these moves, trade negotiations, tax decisions, ceasefire talks, they have a direct impact on how money and technology move across borders and set the tone for crypto and fintech adoption worldwide. And if you think hard money is just an old school thing, Think again. Texas just made it legal to use gold and silver for everyday payments as well. So that's right. Right now, you could walk into a store, I should try this, and pay with gold or silver just like cash. It's a clear sign that more people are starting to question the future of money. And it's a huge narrative boost for digital assets like Bitcoin. But there's an even bigger shift happening right now under the surface. The old days of retail investors rushing into crypto out of FOMO, fear of missing out, are fading. What we're seeing now is a methodical, organized, I would even say more educated retail, and definitely a strategic strategy from institutions, which are banks, hedge funds, and even public companies. So this isn't just hype, it's a structured bid for the future of finance. All while at the same time, Washington is finally waking up to the reality that crypto is here to stay. Congress is getting ready to sign the Genius Bill and hold a Senate vote on the Clarity Act this July. Now, what does that actually mean for you and for me? The Genius Bill is designed to modernize US finance laws so that crypto and companies know exactly where they stand and can operate without fear of arbitrary crackdowns. And the Clarity Act does something similar by giving digital assets a clear legal framework. When the rules are spelled out, big investors feel safer stepping in. And that is ultimately what gets the real momentum going for crypto adoption in the US. Not everyone is convinced though. Elon Musk has been very vocal about what he calls the big beautiful bill, warning that it could actually destroy jobs in the US. And that's a reminder, every time new laws get written, they can shake markets in ways no one could have expected. And the lesson here, pay attention to the details because that's where the future gets decided. And I believe it was just Elon's birthday over the weekend as well. And it's actually pretty cool. We drove by his factories on our way to Bastrop in Texas, saw the Boring Company. We saw a few other of his factories. It was really quite amazing. Anyway, let's zoom in on the main event now. Bitcoin. There's a quiet, relentless accumulation happening that you may not have noticed if you're just looking at the headlines in the news. This week alone, Bitcoin Treasury Corp snapped up 771 more Bitcoin worth about $51 million, which brings their total to over 19,700 Bitcoin. And when a major public company keeps buying like this, it's not chasing hype, guys. It's extremely strategic. They're betting that Bitcoin is here for the long haul, enough to put their money behind it. And this is not just an isolated move. Anthony Pompliano's firm, ProCap, just closed a $1 billion merger and immediately bought almost 4,000 Bitcoin. So good for him. To put that into context, that's enough Bitcoin to buy 3,000 average homes in America. And Metaplanet is not falling behind either. They added another 1,000 Bitcoin to their stack as well, which now totals over 13,000 Bitcoin. We also see El Salvador continuing to double down, adding 7 more Bitcoin to the treasury for a total of more than 6,000. So the trend is crystal clear right now. Michael Saylor and Strategies Company also logged their 11th straight week of Bitcoin purchases. That's extremely aggressive and bullish for Bitcoin. This is conviction at its best. These companies are treating Bitcoin as a core asset, the way you might think of cash in the bank or gold in a vault. And we see a company called Backed with a double K, which is another heavyweight in the space. They may soon also be allocating up to $1 billion into Bitcoin. Moves like this show just how serious institutions have become about owning a piece of this new digital reserve. And they're not alone. Across the board, we're seeing more and more public companies adding Bitcoin to their balance sheets. It's not a sideshow anymore, it's the main event. Even regulators are starting to pay attention. The US mortgage regulator is now studying whether Bitcoin could help address the company's housing crunch. Imagine a future where your home down payment could be made in Bitcoin. It's not as far-fetched as it sounds. We all saw the announcement of Fannie Mae last week talking about allowing its customers to collateralize off of their Bitcoin to buy a home. And as a sign of how mainstream Bitcoin is becoming, President Trump himself said that Bitcoin eases pressures of the US dollar. That's a rare statement coming from a president of the United States and shows just how far the conversation has come. And when you look at the chart, the story gets even stronger. Bitcoin has just broken out of a multi-week downtrend in the last month. So for anyone new to the term, a downtrend is simply a period when prices keep falling, basically, as it sounds. And when that streak breaks, often signals a potential shift in momentum, something every trader watches closely. And what's different right now is the character, the personality behind the buying. Instead of the wild emotional swings driven by retail FOMO, we're seeing steady, strategic, almost clinical accumulation from institutions and big investors. And it's not just companies and funds. Rick Edelman, one of America's most respected investment advisors, is now telling professionals to hold as much as 40% of their portfolio in crypto. That's a dramatic change from just a year ago. And it's the clearest sign yet that the old guard is embracing the new world. The gap between Wall Street and crypto is closing fast. But Bitcoin isn't the only thing making moves right now. As attention stays on its momentum, we're also seeing Ethereum and other altcoins quietly staging a comeback. Ethereum, for example, is rebounding towards the upper end of its trading range, a sign that buyers are stepping back in after a period of caution. And there's something even more interesting going on. We just saw the largest Ethereum whale buy since 2018. So if you're not familiar with the term, a whale is simply someone who holds a massive amount of crypto. And when a whale steps in, it can squeeze the market, meaning prices can spike suddenly as supply dries up. Veteran traders are also pointing out that Ethereum's chart right now looks a lot like it did back in 2017, just before the last big bull run. The patterns aren't identical, they rarely are, but the similarities are enough to get people talking and people noticing. We see altcoins, right, the catch-all term for everything that isn't Bitcoin or Ethereum, are starting to coil at a major technical levels, which is a fancy way of saying they're building up energy like a snake, right? It coils before it jumps for a potential breakout. And after 2 years of underperforming Bitcoin, the setup for altcoins to make a big move is becoming more and more compelling. So whether your focus is Bitcoin, Ethereum, or those smaller altcoin plays, it's clear that the entire crypto landscape is waking up, entering a period of renewed energy and possibility. And when you put all these pieces together, a bigger picture starts to emerge, like the phoenix from the fire. So let's recap now. What does this all mean? Let's bring it together. In just 1 week, we have seen 64 central banks cut rates. The S&P 500 hit new highs, and record amounts of money flow into risk assets like crypto. We've watched Washington move towards real regulatory clarity, and we've seen some of the world's biggest institutions and companies add Bitcoin to their treasuries. Ethereum and altcoins are flashing early signs of a new cycle, and even the most traditional investment advisors are waking up to the opportunity. So here's the bottom line. We are living through the collapse of the wall between legacy finance and the digital future, like the Berlin Wall. It's crumbling. By staying informed and understanding what actually matters, you're putting yourself in a position to move with the market, to have that first mover's advantage and not be behind it. That would be like the biggest nightmare. I hope that's not you. I'm so happy you're here. So if you want to stay ahead of the next move, the next trend and wave in the crypto market, you're definitely at the right channel. It is my commitment, and because it is my priority to bring you this news Monday through Friday as soon as possible, every single week, so you can stay ahead and make informed investment decisions. Anyway, guys, that's a wrap for this video. I love you so much. Happy Monday. I will catch you guys here in my video tomorrow. And in the meantime, stay ready, stay hungry, watch all my videos, subscribe if you haven't, share my video with a friend or family member that needs to know what's going on. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow.